software that you use to create this document, you can click on the software, and then it gives you a step-by-step instruction of actually how to fix this problem. And you can also print the instruction for your reference if you don't want to refer it online. But online do not fix it for you. You need to go back to the software that you use to create the documents to actually fix it yourself. It just gives you the instruction of how to do it. So now, because this is a Word document, so we need to actually fix this document in Microsoft Word. So let's go to a Microsoft Word. So this is a document where it has accessibility issues. When you see this document, you see that this is bold and this is smaller. And it seems that it already have a headings and subheadings, etc. But this is the mistake we always make in terms of accessibility, where we use the font size and bold to make it as if it's a heading. But screen reader would not be able to detect it and be able to tell the user that this is a heading, because, for example, you see in the ribbon here, it's actually it's just a normal paragraph, a normal text. So we need to select the inbuilt style, which is heading 1 to this, and then this one is heading 2. Then now this is styled as headings, and the screen reader can read it and detect it to inform their user. You can always then highlight this and then change the font or color if you want. To your preferences. Okay. For images, just click on the images, right click, and then go to Format Pictures. And then with this icon, go to Alt Text, put in a title and a description. Okay. And for chart, it's the same. Go to Format Pictures, Alt Text, and then put in the title and description. For table, select the whole table, right click again, and then go to Table Properties, go to Row, deselect Allow rows to break across pages, but select Repeat as the header rows at the top of each page. So this would indicate the header row, and then put in the alt text again, which is the title and description for this table. So now, assuming we think that we fix all the errors and it's all fine, but sometimes we might miss something. And Word has a accessibility checker to make sure that everything is covered. So if you go to File, and then check for issue and say check for accessibility, then this accessibility checker would list out all the areas that still need to fix for you. And then for each one, it would tell you instructions of how to fix as well. I hope everyone can see it clearly from here. Can make it bigger. So it lists out all the errors, and then at the bottom here, it tells you how to fix them. Okay, so now let's say we fix everything and accessibility check is all well done, and we want to save this document into a PDF. Okay, so normally what we do is we go to File, and then we say Print, and then we say we save as Adobe PDF, but this way would create an inaccessible PDF document. Even though your Word document is accessible, this way of converting it into PDF will create an inaccessible PDF. So the right way to do that is go to File and then Save as File and then Save as So save as Adobe Acrobat, and then in the option here, check convert document informations, check create PDF A, which is this is the standard, and create bookmarks. This would create the headings for the PDF, and then convert comments and click OK, and then save this document. Then this would create an accessible PDF with the same accessibility fix that you put into your documents. However, we can never be sure, as there is always a pinfall for everything. So let's say we have a document, a PDF document here. We think this document might be fully accessible because we have created the source document, which is the Word document, as accessible, and we follow the right step to convert it into accessible PDF. But it's always no harm to double check it again. So the PDF itself has an accessibility checker as well. So it's always good to double check your PDF document after you created it to make sure it's accessible. The way to do it is to go to these little buttons on your right that say accessibility. Click on that button. And then in here, you would have this option to say accessibility check. So in here, you would come up with the different options. Just leave it as a default and say start checking. Then after that, on your right-hand side, you would list out all the issue of these documents that needs to fix. And for each one, it would tells you what to do later. So in here, you can say fix or skip and check again or explain why is this wrong. Okay, so this is a good way to make sure your PDF documents is fully accessible. Right, so that is the way to do accessible documents and PDF. And let's have a look at the PowerPoint. We use a lot of PowerPoint in our presentations, and we have our own way of doing that all the time. And it's one common thing that we all do is to actually use a blank slide and then to insert a text box on the top, and then another text box at the bottom. The top one, we put down our title, and then we use the size and bold and etc. or color to make it into a heading. But again, like Word documents, this kind of formatting that we do to our document, although for a sighted user is obviously a heading, but a screen reader cannot detect it as a heading. So to make sure the screen reader can detect the heading, just like the guide that we say, we need to think about the structure and the heading and etc. So we need to use the inbuilt style to format our slides. So the way to do that is go to New Slide and then select one of those. So one with a title, and you add a title here. And this would read to screen reader as a title, and then you can insert other text boxes later on to for your contents. But the recommendation is actually try to use any of these already formatted presentation style to create your slides, because all these slides, this template would give you the right reading order to the contents of your slide. If you add in your own text box, then the reading order might not be the way you intended it to be when it read by the screen reader. And to apply alt text to images, just go to the image and then right click again and say format pictures, and then this icon again, and create alt text and put in a title and a description. The other things that we need to think about in PowerPoint presentation is we try to make our PowerPoints have colors and images and make it more interesting. But we need to, again, go back to the guideline, think about the color and the contrast of your PowerPoint. And sometimes it's quite difficult to decide whether the font colors and the background, whether it's met the accessibility standard. So PowerPoint has already created a lot of templates for you to use that. So what you need to do is go to, if I go back in again, go to File and then say New, and then type in here as accessible. So then it would let you select all these different presentation style that is inbuilt into the PowerPoint, and all these meeting will meet the accessibility guidelines and standard. So just choose one of them and apply to your template, and it goes from there. Okay, so basically that is the end of my demo, a very brief demo of how to create accessible contents for Word documents, PDF, PowerPoints, and Moodle content. So now is the question and answer time. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please go ahead.
Hi, Abigail.
Hello.
Hello there. Sorry, I'll put on my camera because it's weird talking to a box, isn't it? I just wondered whether the screen reader is available from Apps Anywhere. If we could kind of download it and have a little play with it just for our own experience to see hear what other people see. No, other way around.
Yes. There is one in the Apps Anywhere that we can download. But I can't remember the name now, but I can find the information to you. And maybe it's a good idea if I put it down in the accessibility guide website as well.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
So might have the same issue where they actually want to test it themselves to make sure that it's actually usable for the screen reader. So I will do that. Thank you for asking that questions.
To be honest, I'm dyslexic and I would really love a screen reader just to help me get through things online.
Yeah.
Smashing, thank you.
I would do that. Sorry, if you can email me later after the session, with, and then I can send you the information and also make an effort to put it online in the website as well. So please do go and check that website later.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Abigail. Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
There used to be UOP templates. They're not for PowerPoints and things like that. Do you know if they still exist? Should we be using them for teaching and presentations? And do we know if they are accessible? Because I think I did my accessibility training a little while ago, and I'm sure at the time there was some feeling that the actual corporate PowerPoints and such like are not accessible. So do we know if that is still the case?
Yes, I think you're right. So the corporate PowerPoint template and the document template, because of the color contrast, is actually not meeting the accessibility standard. I think the marketing is now working on making a new template out, but I have not heard anything about it. So again, email me after the sessions, and when I have more information about this, then I would let you know. And I think, again, this is a good point to put into the website too, on the page, and the page where it describes how to create accessible contents and accessible PowerPoints, that I can include sessions of where to get this template.
Yeah, I just think, because I don't mind at all using my own initiative and using a more fun one anyway for internal, but we also do teaching with collaborative students. And I just think we would probably be wanting to use a UOP kind of branded template when we're doing that. But if it's not accessible, then I don't want to use it. So yeah, okay. All right. Thanks, Abigail.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm actually wondering if that's a piece of work we might be able to do in TEL. It's actually in the short term, construct a PowerPoint template that is accessible, because I know that we've recently completed a lot of work to make sure that our Moodle template is fully accessible.
Yes.
So it might be that we can get, in the short term, while we're waiting for marketing, we could see if our TEL colleagues can work their magic.
Yeah, it might be an idea, because I understand for the sort of more corporate training, presenting to the world, our stuff, that a tailored corporate PowerPoint needs to be of a particular standard. But when you're teaching to people that you want to put the message that they're part of UOP, that's a slightly different thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? So I think that's what I'm aiming for.
I think it's a very important point that, like, we are representing the university, and everything should be in the corporate standard, and we should really have a template. I think it is important, and someone must have looked into this issue already, but I cannot pinpoint it now and give you an answer. So Kathleen, it's a good idea if we raise it in TEL and see if we can do something about it, or maybe work with the marketing as well. But we'll bring this up, and then we'll let you know. And
yeah, sure. I think lots of it concerns degrees of contrast. So I'm sure that we could, by altering the contrast on the standard marketing template, make that happen, I think. So yeah, we'll look into that.
yeah.
Abigail, is JISC online survey software available? And that's from Brendan. Oh, accessible.
JISC online software.
Online survey software, is it accessible?
I'm not sure, actually, is the answer. I can look it up for you, but I'm not sure the answer for that. Who asked the question? If you can email me the question later to abigail.lee@port.ac.uk, then I can answer and do some research and answer you for.
I've had another thought, Abigail, sorry. We're seeing lots of other tools and pieces of software that we can use and integrate with our teaching and our presentations this week. So, for example, I've looked at Nearpod before, and I was looking at that this morning with Tom, and we're going to be using lots of other things. Do we need to be concerned about the accessibility issue of these kinds of tools that we might be integrating into our presentations and work with the students?
If you're using an external tools, then we not comply to make sure the external tools are accessible, because like it's out of our control. So the requirements only require that for our own content and the content in Moodle, it has to meet the accessibility standard. So if you're using an outside tool, for example, YouTube, etc., when you're showing to your students, then this is not under the remit.
Yeah, what about something like Nearpod, where we are creating the content, because we're creating content that we can add into our presentations, that's like audience accessibility and response software. So Nearpod, you would create the presentation yourself, and then that would be integrated with your WebEx presentation and all the other multi-layers that we now see ourselves facing with all of these different tools that we're using to teach online?
That I wasn't sure because I'm not a Nearpod expert. So I'm not sure the accessibility standard of Nearpod. But if the university is introducing these tools for you to use, then I'm sure they have already considered this issue. So, but I need to check with maybe Tom Lanston again, because I'm not an expert on Nearpod.
Thank you. I'll stop being pesky now.
No, please. Anyone have any other questions?
I just have one other question. If we're talking about students that perhaps ADHD, Asperger's, autism, other kind of neurodiverse ways of learning, is there any tips you can give us for presentation material that may be more engaging? Any tips?
I mean, oh, sorry, go on, Abigail.
Yeah, go on, Kathy.
I was going to say this is so very tricky because I've met with a lot of people over the last month, and I specialists in different fields, so students with ADHD or students on the neurodiverse spectrum or students with a range of processing disorders. And I said, what are the 3 takeaways that we can give to staff? But I think in a nutshell, the knowledge base is too complex and students are too individual. So the accessibility advice and guidance that we're offering in relation to all students really does apply, in the sense that make material bite-sized chunks. So students who have home circumstances that are keeping them very busy, or students who have processing difficulties, or students who have attention difficulties, can actually dip in at a time and place that suits them, access a small chunk of information and move on, or come back as they please. So tricky to try to give I guess specific guidance because of the complexity of these issues and because students are so different. But I think that the guidance that we're putting out at the moment on Moodle for all staff is as accessible as it can be. So it's small bite-sized chunks, simplified language, and these accessible content guidelines. But I know that that's the message I've been getting, and it feels a bit like, gosh, I wish I had the answers.
It seems like good advice, and also it benefits everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, because just like what Catherine say, because it's so vast, the topic is so vast, it's really difficult to cater for a small group because the requirements might be contradict to each other. So sometimes we have to be very careful. But if I share my screen with you again. So in the website, we have created a best practice to create accessible resources. And this is the combinations of do and don'ts for different kinds of disability. So this is the general best practice that you can use as a reference. For example, do ensure your fonts are readable and don't use small or script style fonts. Ensure it's left aligned and no capital, etc. So all these common sense that we can apply to the best practice that we can apply to our contents would be really helpful. At least tackle the fundamental accessibility issue for them and make it at least has a basic accessible to them.
Fantastic, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hi, sorry. I teach a very, very mathematical subject,
Yeah.
and making my sort of slides accessible is extremely challenging. So my plan was to sort of put equations in as images and have alt text describing what the image is for the screen readers. Would that be sort of a recommended approach, or does the university have sort of a Another sort of bit of advice for those.
Some very, very difficult topics, because even the accessibility community has problems in trying to make equations and engineering diagrams, blueprints, that kind of things accessible, because you can't really describe really like a formula. You can describe as much as you can, but not truly. So we're still looking into this, but I'm afraid at the moment there's no answer to that. So my best advice is make the other contents as accessible as possible, but for the bits that like formula, etc., just try your best, and if sometimes it just cannot be done.
I think possibly recording videos and reading out and describing what the equation is showing might be the best approach.
Yes. So try, always have, we always try to say, if it's not possible in one way, try alternative format. Try like videos, or I'm not sure, like any other things that you can think of. Try to make it understandable.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
I just thought one more thing to throw in, Abigail, just from the library, when you were showing the PDFs earlier on the screen in Moodle. We quite often raise issues with folks about putting PDFs, particularly of journal articles, into Moodle for various reasons, including copyright and accessibility and stuff like that. But the reading lists on Aspire that are linked to Moodle give us the capacity to digitize things should people need them, and also to ensure if anyone has any particular learning need or learning disability, whereby we need to make sure that there is maximum electronic content available for that student, making sure that there is a full reading list with everything that the student is likely to need linked to the library system is the best way forward to achieve that. So rather than trying to make sure that all the PDFs of articles are in the right place and accessible, it would be a far better strategy to make sure that the reading list is fully populated with everything everybody would need, that we can get maximum electronic content so that we can facilitate students with disability being able to read everything in the same way as their fellow students can.
Yes, thank you. That's a good point.
Any final questions? We've got 2 minutes left, so if anyone's got any questions, that would be great. Okay, so we finished, I think, 2 minutes ahead of time, Abigail. I just want to say thank you so much. You just provide such helpful guidance, and I really appreciate it. And I've certainly over my career have felt a tinge of guilt at how inaccessible some of the content I've been using has been. So it's really helpful, and thanks so much. Thanks everybody for coming, and hopefully we'll see you through the duration of the week at the variety of workshops that we're running.
Yeah, so before everyone goes, again, feel free to email me on abigail.lee@pod.sc.uk if you have any questions or need any guidelines in terms of what you need to do for accessibility issues. And do visit the website that I showed you, and the accessibility website is also in the sessions. If I share my screen again. So in this session, when you click to join, there's a link here, this accessibility web page. This is the page that we can go directly into the accessibility website that I show you just now. As I said before, it has a lot of accessibility guidelines and information in there. Do go in and check, and hopefully it will be useful for you. And if not, then let me know, then I can update the contents for you.
Thank you. Well, I'm trying to reply to participants on the chat, but for some reason it won't let me. But thanks everyone for coming. Thanks, Abigail.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good week.